come down here to an area that I haven't even looked at myself in these cornfields and see what they actually look like. Um, yeah, this is down from the dairy farm, down from the dairy barn. This is corn on corn. Of course, we shredded and baled it last year. And uh, so corn, this is my bean head or there's a few pieces of equipment here. I think my corn head is in here someplace. Yeah, it's here. I put it in there because I just have no room elsewhere. But the corn, this is on a corner, and as you know, the corners you speed up with the boom speeds up, and you don't get as much on with the fertilizer and other things. But I just figured that this would be a good place or a good way to go see what this corn looks like down below here. I want to get this in a better angle. Another building over there that most people never see, at least most people online never see. So, all right, so what I'm seeing, I'm going to go ahead and turn you around so y'all can see what I'm seeing. And this is a 100-day corn variety, and it was planted in May. Obviously, it was planted in May. Pretty girthy ears here, and these get a lot of shade in the late afternoon. Corn's pretty tall. As you can see, there's very little deer damage here. What the deer are known to do is come along and just grab it and pull it down, biting that silk off of there. They just love to bite the silk off. Uh, while I'm here and while I'm at it, I was out, I would actually like to tell everybody that I was out at the Farm Progress Show yesterday in Pennsylvania. And I want to thank everybody that came up to me and said hi. And for those of you that didn't come up and say hi, I'm not Brad Pitt. I'm just Wesley. I'm just a farmer. Now, I was there with my family, and most people were everybody was very respectful. They didn't like, hey, I don't really want to waste your time. I just wanted to say thank you. I love your content. And I would love to say thank you for doing that. That was great. Um, it's very hard for someone like myself to actually go and enjoy a show because, well, apparently I'm somewhat popular still online, and people enjoy my content and what I do, and everybody was wonderful. Thank you, just thank you very much. Anyways, with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and shut my mouth. I'm not going to shut my mouth. I always say that, but I never do. I'm just going to walk along here, and you can see this is a hickory nut tree or a shagbark hickory nut tree. And you can see now that the ears are, not nearly as prolific there, and the deer have been doing their business, working on them because the stalks are a little lower, or the ear set is a little lower, and they will tear that up. You might think that's coon damage, but it wasn't. A raccoon will go up and bend over a whole bunch. This is bird damage here. So what birds will do, I mean, for those of you that don't know what it's like or what the signs of different types of animals that are damaging your crop, this is bird damage. And with the leaves as thick and as green as what they are, and the population that I have it set at, which is 37,700, yes, it is very thick. I will not be planting this thick again next year. I'm going to drop the population. And this is where I made a corner. You can see how deep and green that is, and the boom speed when you come around a corner, or it could even still be left over from some of these trees. But you see it doesn't look like there's as much fertilizer there. You can see the field is clean. This field is clean. And I know you're all anxious to watch me rip one of these ears off here just to or just go inside here and see what it looks like, as I am too. This corn is phenomenal, okay? Phenomenal. Look at it. If you don't know the size, I have a big hand, all right? I cannot get my fingers around that sucker. It is a baseball bat. I mean, these things are awesome. And I'm actually looking at some repair parts for my corn head. Gonna be doing some rebuilding work to it. Obviously, it needs to be done because It is, hell, the thing's over 20 years old, and I doubt that the former owners of it did much to. Well, here's an interesting spot. Oh, I know what this is. This is where you can see this spot here. This is where the tires ran over. The sprayer went when I resprayed with Roundup. Yeah, Roundup. And you can see how the deer have singled this out and actually pulled an ear off. And there's another one. They pulled that ear off. So the thickness that I've planted this, and thank you for not asking questions because I'm not answering right now, but the thickness that I planted this was a dual purpose, okay? There's actually three purposes. I kind of regretted it immediately after I did it. I was like, man, 37,700 is an awful lot of seed to put to the acre, you know, an awful lot of seed to put to the acre to produce, you know, what I want to produce if we don't get the rain. Well, it's raining. It's still raining. There's more than enough moisture in this ground. You dig down a few inches and it does get dry because with over from 32,000 or 35 that I did last year to 37, and we'll just round it down just for numbers' sakes. 37,000, you add 5,000 plants to the acre. That's 5,000 more plants pulling a shit ton of moisture out of the ground. And if you don't get the rain or the moisture that we're looking for, then you don't have a yield. And I said this the last time I did one of these live streams out here in the field or one of these videos that the probability of failure goes up with a higher population. The probability or the possibility of a lower yield in dryland corn with a high population, it goes up. These stalks have got to be 10, 12 feet tall. Um, Ear set's perfect for me. It's exactly where I wanted it. What happens is because the population is higher, it pulls more moisture out, looking for, it just pulls more moisture out. So you can actually reduce the days between rain showers or rainstorms or rain significantly by days. At 32,000, you may be able to go 2 weeks without seeing an adverse effect. But with 37,000, it seems like if you don't get rain every single week, at least an inch, it can really hurt your potential. And look at this stuff. I mean, look at these things. Would you look at that? And I went around this twice. I'm trying to fight my way through 24 rows here. And here we go. We made it. We made it. Oh. So here's the end rows where they collide. And you can see that I would say raccoons did that. I hate spiders. I'd say raccoons did that. Possibly deer got in here, started pulling on it, but it looks like that's raccoon damage there, which is nothing on the grand scheme of things. Um, Here's a really cool fact. So here on the end of this, where there's a space, you can see, look at this, two full ears, and they're full to the end. And then there's a third one here. This is just sucker, not doing anything good. So you see that, and then you come over here on another end row, and you see that, and it's just, that's why I'm thinking that I should probably reduce I can't, let's put it this way, I'm kind of stammering here. I can't seem to stop these varieties, any of these varieties, from doing this. Okay, so I got this great big ear. It's got some bird damage because they can get in here, and this is poking out the side. Then I got this secondary, which has got some kernels to it. I'm not going to pull it off because that'll impact the first ear. But I keep getting this. So if I actually reduce my yield, and this is going to throw an ear anyway, it doesn't care. I may have more bird damage and more deer damage and more coon damage because they can actually penetrate the field. But if I have this, look at this. I mean, this is two full ears on here. And then this third guy. And here's another one. Look, here, this one here, it doesn't have much, but it's there. So the more sunlight, the more it has, the better it's going to be. I cannot complain about this variety. This is 100 day golden harvest Syngenta NK seed, I guess you want to say. And you can see all over this that they have just some massive ears on here. When I said I was shooting for 300 bushel, not a 300 bushel average, but a 250 bushel average, I meant it. I'm not joking. We have had the weather, we've had the heat, we've had the rain. It's not a good haymaking year, I will tell you that. But on 300 acres, I actually have 310 or 320 acres. It's right in that range. Let's just say 315 acres, and it all looks like this. Do have a couple of spots where I had some weed pressure. That's not going to look like that, but that's only a 5 acre affected area. Let me get through this mess. Be all cut up. So yeah, it's going to be a tremendous yield for me. Wasn't cheap to achieve what you're looking at here, and by no means is this crop ever going to make it to the bin, right? I mean, you're probably saying, what the fuck is he talking about? It's August, and we have these wonderful things here on the East Coast that come through. You usually get one or two a year, called hurricanes. Sometimes they're hemicanes, all in the name, but for the most part, and here's a low spot. It's due to this shading. If you go out in the field, it looks all the same. Uh, but yeah, this could be knocked flat. Last year we had some of those problems. Not terrible, but bad enough. This farm here was treated differently than the other farm that I had, as far as the type of fertilizers that I put on. Last year I only used compost, nitrogen, and 60 units of potash. And I realized that that really hurt my yield in the long run. I averaged only about 107, I think it was 176 on this whole farm, which was still a moneymaker. You know, it's for what I had put in at $3.45 a bushel is what I penciled it. I needed to have 157 bushels to break even, and that's after equipment and fertilizer and all that other inputs, the lovely inputs. I needed 157 bushels to break even. I came out with 176, which gave me, almost 20 bushels to the acre above what I had put in, what it took to grow the crop. This year, I treated it very differently. Now we're going to get in here where there's a little less shading on this corner. But this year, I treated it very similar as to everything else that I did, meaning I put down the NP and K, the complete NP and K, and I upped the amount of compost that I had put on from a, you know, from from the year before. And this is a corner, so the ears are not going to be ginormous because of the boom whip, as you would say. I guess you go too fast. The boom whip, but still, not terrible. This is a late bloomer. This is where it got ran over with. Well, no, these are where rows collide. That's why they're colliding rows, which overpopulated it hugely, or bigly, if you want to talk like the president, the former president, or in my mind, the better president than what we got now. But we won't bring politics into this. So I'm getting out here. I'm gonna get out here where it's not so collided, and you guys can maybe see what I'm talking about here. But yeah, here's row collision. All right, so here's where I had picked it up and dropped it down from the straight rows. This is an end row situation, still thicker than these. But if you look at the ears, again, not able to get my fingers around them. We've got twins, we got a lot. There's a lot here. There's going to be a lot of stalk trash. Now, I was talking about the the triple purpose of planting this population, and then I got distracted by these beautiful, beautiful ears of corn that never listened to me. but they're doing okay. And I still think there's an overpopulation. There's got to be a double planting. Let me get in here a little farther. No, it's just wicked. That's all there is to it. It's just wicked. Anyway, let me get over here. Is this a situation? No, we're good. So, as far as down below here, you can look down the rows. Fairly clean. There is a few little grasses that kind of got through. This is expected, the dying off of the lower leaves. And the reason that's happening is because, well, there's no sunlight that gets down here. And when you get up to the top here, you can see how deep green and beautiful that is. And yeah, so you're starting to get some dieback here as this ear expands from filling out, and it's going to bust through the end. I'm not going to pull an ear just yet, but I can. And you can see they're all quite uniform. Quite uniform. They all kind of look about the same. Look at that. I'm busting them leaves. So, yeah, I'm not seeing any damage down here. But the three reasons that I planted it this thick are this. A, the highest yield I can possibly make with the nutrition that I put in. B, I made it so thick so that the deer could not penetrate my field and destroy it. C, fodder production. I will be producing fodder for bedding this year because the mushroom growers are not taking it. And that's just a fact. They said to me the other day, sorry, but we're not going to buy any fodder from you because we're not going to be using it. So we don't need any more. We have leftover from last year, so you can just stick your fodder up your ass, which is okay. I don't care if I make any of this fodder. Really, honestly, I don't. And you're probably wondering why I would say such a thing. I don't care because the grain that I'm going to be pulling off of here is stupendous. I mean, I'm looking at, this is probably a 20 row ear. These are 20 row ears. If they're not 20s, they're a solid 18. Where it gets thin, where I ran it over with the tractor and sprayer, this is still 2 ears, 2 full ears. They're filling out nicely. Again, filling out nicely. Yeah. Now, people have to scout their fields. And, you know, I guess I never did. I just don't want deer penetrating my fields. It gets so expensive when deer penetrate your field. They don't like to force their way through things. They just don't. They're lazy. Deer are inherently lazy animals. They take the path of least resistance, which is usually a corner. You can see where they've gone down through here. You can see where they have pulled ears off. They've gotten in here because it's thin from the well, shaded out from trees, and that's exactly what's here. And of course, then they can pick off the ears from the spindly stalks that wouldn't have produced anything anyway. So I'm not really too concerned with that. Yeah. So now I'm going to go ahead and cross over this pipe here, and you're going to you hear the cicadas. We've had 2 waves of cicadas. One's in June, and then of course the regular green-eyed cicadas that come in August, which is what we're getting. I don't know what brood these are. They're not brood X. We went through that already. So here we got full sunlight, kind of full sunlight. It's missing the morning sun, but still pretty good. That ain't good. But you see, somebody ripped the ear off. And yeah, yep. This is where a lot of water comes down and washes that out. So I'm pretty pleased with what I've got here. I really am. Oh, my legs. Well, what do I do for you guys? I'm all soaking wet, water running down my socks. I'm gonna have to go home and change those. Whatever. Rained last night. More damage. I don't know. Deer came along and bit the silk and pulled that back. But yeah, that's not good. Let me get over here where it's not so tall. Weeds anyway. So yeah, so this is my corn update. When I get up to the top here, talking and walking at the same time is exhausting. Do you know that? This is the corner, you know, boom swing, less compost, and severe shading. That's why it looks yellow. Was going to pull some tissue for leaves off for tissue analysis. Haven't got to that yet. Not sure that I will do it. I should do it, but it's just a time thing, and I need to, talk to the guys up at the fertilizer plant before I go ahead and do that. This is again a corner. This damn yellow foxtail here. This stuff, I can't even do anything with it anymore. Here's the end rows and baseball bats. Hey, look at this. Nuts. So there it is. Now, this is my corn walk. If you're just arriving now, I'm soaking wet. You get to the outside of this. My wife is going to be like, "Why are you back?" I'll say, "Yeah, I'm soaking wet." And then I'll tell her I fell in the river. And she'll be like, "I watched your live stream. What the hell are you talking about?" It's just the way my wife is. Keeps an eye on me. Make sure I ain't got no bits. Anyway, all right. You can tell even in the shaded areas. Oops. You see there's more deer traffic here. There's deer tracks pulling this off, but they're not penetrating the field, which is very important. Yeah. Yep. Come up from down below here, and this is what you get. Oh, yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think of my corn crop? Do you think it's okay? Think it looks okay? Or do you think I've failed? Like all those trolls that watch my channel and are like, "You couldn't grow corn to save your life." Well, I like corn. Now, this goes out to Lancaster. They feed cattle, hogs, and chickens and turkeys out there. That's where it's going. Oh, soaked right down to the toes. Shouldn't complain. Good exercise for me anyway. Walnut tree, that'll affect that. Oh, yeah. A lot more deer. See? I'd rather them take it out in the corners where I'm not going to run the combine through anyway. Go ahead, have at it, guys. It's all right. Oh, yeah, I'm itchy. Itchy. Spiders and bugs and all kinds of funny things. All right. That building again. My sailboat's there. Yep. More bird damage on the end. Won't complain. It's okay. Outside of the edge. This is right here. And nitrogen didn't get applied too evenly down here on the outside edge where the grass really impacted it. But if you poke your head in there, one row, even here, it's good. It's good. Whew. Pretty steep grade. I don't know if you can see that, but you get up over here. It's home. It's my view. Yeah. All right. Now I'm in the shade, kind of. Again, shaded out by trees. That's one thing with New Jersey. We don't have small fields. I'm gonna do that. That's even better. We have small fields here. So anyway, what do we got? 311 people watching? Well, thank you. Did you enjoy my corn tour? If you enjoyed it, hit a thumbs up and, leave a comment. And I'm going to read comments now, I guess. That's all. Thank you. J&B Farms. Philip Wick. Jack Attack. Yep. Yeah, no, corn's phenomenal. When I hit this with the combine, you're going to see some shit then. And all these guys that are the naysayers, and it's not silage. No. Uh, no, deer will go through that. It's if a deer knows that I'd rather have the deer go in a few rows and come back out than go in and know that it's a lighter population on the outside. Just not what I'm gonna do. So yeah, no, I thought about that too, and I was like, you know what? I used to do that with soybeans, right? So I'd plant corn around the outside edges of the soybeans to keep the deer out of the soybeans. Well, once I realized there was soybeans in there, then they were really protected, and it actually brought in more deer because nothing could see them, and they were just out there. They've had this false sense of security, and I killed a lot of deer doing that. But in the end, I should have just let them eat it. You know, I was there yesterday. I was at the Ag Progress Days yesterday. Me and Teresa and William went. My dad did not want to go. I'm going to be rebuilding my corn head, new rolls, new stripper plates, new chains, all that. I think I'm going to go with the Calmer row units. Probably going to cost me $3,000 a piece. I don't know. I got to ask them. Uh, just to just for positive traction when I go to the field. You know, I mean, if they're the rollers are $1,000 a piece, you know, there's $12,000 or so. I don't know. I don't know how much they're going to be. They're not going to be cheap, but anybody running Calmer snapper rolls and gathering chains, scale it up. What are we scaling up? What are we scaling up, fella? I'm trying to squat here. It's a little easier. It's good for my back too. I mean, what are we scaling up? The number of acres. A bigger corn head. I could go to an 8 row. My combine is really set up for an 8 row. I could do a 12, but with corn that's this thick, without the calmer stripper rolls or snapper rolls, it don't need to use my grain head. I don't need all that crap going through the combine. With the calmer snapper rolls, it'll pull those stalks right through and even husk the damn things from what I could see. And that means less trash going through the combine, which means I can go faster. Now, if I was to go to a 12 row head, which I'm not going to do, by the way, just that old combine doesn't need to be beat to death like that. I'd rather buy a newer combine and go with a 12. But the 6 row heads, I can go down the road. I don't have to take them off. And let's face it, you know, am I really going to be growing, thousands upon thousands of acres of corn? I don't think so. I think I'm going to, I've been saying I'm going to do 1,000 acres, but I think I'm just going to deal like this year. We'll see how this 300 acres goes through. At one time, we did 800 acres, and that was a long time ago when I was a kid. And I remember January still picking corn with a 4 row corn picker or 4 row corn head on a TR70. Uh, that was 800 acres, and we did custom besides. So I'm going to buy more wagons, more of those wagons, because everything here is close to home. I don't have to go 30 miles. I mean, the farthest I go is 6 miles. And I'd like to see the Pioneer would do for you. I'm going to try Pioneer seed this coming year. Yeah, we used to grow Pioneer seed, but the difference between $158 and 80,000 kernel bag and a $320 a bag variety, is it really going to be worth it, for 2 or 3 extra bushels to the acre? I don't know. I'd like to know, but I don't know. There's a lot of people that are just like, oh yeah, Pioneer, Pioneer, Pioneer. Eastern Shore Farmer uses Pioneer seed, and he does good yields. He has good yields. Um, he's used other seeds and has done well. But for the most part, I kind of like where I'm at, you know. And if you could take that company that sells 158 bushel or $158 a bag yield. Yeah, I paid 336 a bag for the call, and it didn't rain in Maryland. Ouch. I paid 156, and you see what I've got. Um, I was worried. I really was. It was dry in the beginning. I was like, well, Dry now and dry later, this will help. But dry, then really wet throughout June, and then if it didn't continue, that wouldn't be out there. So, I mean, if it dries up right now, I'd still probably make out okay. If it doesn't dry out and we keep getting the rainstorms that we have been getting, then, buddy, you're going to see the highest yielding corn in Hunterdon County. I swear to God. I mean, well, not the highest in Hunterdon County. There's a guy right up the road here, and he had a couple of spots that were over 500 bushels to the acre. It was on his monitor, but he was running twin rows, and it was on. I'd say it was on his best ground, and that's okay. My best ground, yeah, you can legally grow hemp in New Jersey. I am not growing hemp. All of you people that want me to grow hemp or marijuana and things like that, it's not going to happen. And it's the Incredibles theory. You ever hear my terminology or my theories with the Incredibles? Are you ready for this? Because I'm going to say it again. I've said it for years, ever since the Incredibles came out. So the first Incredibles movie, right? The evil villain was, what the hell was that kid's name? I don't even know what the kid's name was. Anyways, he wanted to be with Mr. Incredible. He wanted to be some incredible guy, and he grew up and became an evil guy. That actually his downfall was a cape, But and his slogan was, "When everyone's incredible, no one will be." Okay. So, and it's the same thing with hemp. It's the same thing with marijuana. We're never going to grow marijuana. I will never grow marijuana. Farmers will never grow marijuana. It will be done in laboratories by big pharma like Johnson and Johnson, Pfizer, and all of those. Syngenta will probably get into it, and DuPont and DeKalb and all these. Well, DeKalb is a DuPont product, but all of these companies that are in the pharmaceutical world, they will be growing it. They will not outsource it or contract it. So, and the same thing with hemp. Down in North Carolina, they've been growing hemp now for several years. Same thing with sage. Sage was a big thing. We're gonna have sage oil, and we're gonna do this and that and the other fucking thing. Well, when everybody started growing sage, then nobody could because they had overstocked or overproduced, and the price went to shit, and people lost their shirts. Same thing with hemp. Hemp down there, everybody made a bunch of money, and then they overstocked everything, and there you go. Or overproduction of anything. It's just like corn. If this was a bumper crop this year throughout the whole country, this corn would be worth $2.50, and I would not make any money. I would need to go to the, I'd have to go and get a handout, which I wouldn't do, or I would just do whatever. There's no money in growing hemp. There we go. Here's a guy. MJR Farms. The market got flooded. I grew hemp last year and still have all my oil because the market is flooded. There you go. Hemp price already bottomed out, not worth the equipment. Right. So the first guy's in, and it's just like everything else. Ford, first on race day, right? Ford was the first with a V8, and everybody that followed, Ford made millions of dollars, got a great big boost, and they came out with the flathead V8, and everybody was like, oh, well, we're going to produce a V8 too, but Ford had patented the single cast design and the flathead V8, and then just before Chevy comes out with their V8, Ford comes out with the Y block with the overhead valves and everything, and really pushed Chevrolet back. And Chevrolet couldn't do anything until the patents had run out, and then they were able to build their 350 or their 283 and all these other motors that they made. And it's just like the first guys in the hemp business. They got the contracts, they got the equipment, they paid for the equipment in the first year or second year, and then everybody else went hog wild and stupid and flooded the market. And now it's just a V8. It's like, oh, Ford V8's just as good as a Chevy. They're all modular motors now anyway. The reason I went to the 7.3 Ford was because it's not a modular motor, but they still produce the modular motors, just like Chevy, just like Dodge. Oh, and by the way, they're all Hemis. They're all Hemis, by the way. Dodge just uses the Hemi name, but it's all a Hemi. That spark plug's in the middle of that fucking head. So that's where the hemispherical head thing comes in. But yeah. Uh, are there any pieces of equipment would you like to change for next year or update them? Well, the reason for me going to the Ag Progress Day yesterday was so that I could get a first-hand, eyes-on look at a twin row corn planter. All right, and I just want to take a look at it so I can build my own unit. And I think I'm going to settle with the Kinsey row units and the Kinsey kind of design, and I'm going to build a twin six. So I'll have the single 12, and then I'll run a twin six. So the twin six, I should be able to go faster, obviously. Instead of going the 6 mile an hour, 5.5, 6 mile an hour, I should be able to go 8 miles an hour on smooth land with no rocks and put the seed in the ground pretty comfortably. And the 12 row, obviously, still stay at that six, 5.5, 6. Uh, I want to try twin row versus the single row, and I just I just really wanted to see a twin row planter out there, but that was more or less a hay and forage show yesterday. Good show, by the way. It was all right. Anyone Crone equipment at the show? There was, but they didn't have a big M. They had a chopper, they had rakes, they had a triple mower. Messick's had that out there. I thought they should have had a big M out there. I would have been kind of excited about that. I'd like to get in the 450. I'd been in the 420, but I probably will be purchasing a 420 if the hay business decides to rebound the way it should be going to rebound. If not, then fuck it. I'm gonna change the whole system. You know, just change. I gotta change. If you don't evolve in this business, you're already out of business. Just so you know, doing the things the way your grandfather did them, unless you have a niche market where that is okay, you're gonna go broke. If you do it, even if you do it the same way your father did them, in today's day and age, adapt and overcome. That's exactly what you have to do. It is very simple. Adapt and overcome. So, my hay price, shit. It's absolutely shit. Anybody getting into the mulch hay business right now, they might as well load a revolver and blow their brains out. And I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. If you're in the hay business and you're like, hey, you know what? I can make good hay. We haven't had any weather to make good hay. I've had I've had heifer hay and beef cow hay on the ground and ready to bale, and we get a storm come through and it destroys it. Turns it to mulch. So we just bale it up and it's gone for mulch, which is fine, whatever. I have a contract, but I'm not happy about it. But you have this good hay market where it's twice the money or more, and I can't even touch it because this weather. But again, I have that. So it's called diversification or adapt and overcome. So I'm going to adapt by killing hay. I'm going to put rye into where this corn is. I'm going to combine my rye, and I'm going to clean it, and I'm going to sell the seed, and I'm going to drill soybeans in behind the rye. And the way I'm going to be able to do that is by windrowing the rye and buying a pickup header for my combine. So I should be able to find a pickup header pretty easily and, you know, go for broke, baby. Windrow it 2 weeks ahead of time. Don't have to wait for dry down. 2 weeks ahead of time. Let it dry out in the field. You don't ted it or anything. You just lay it out flat. I have the grass seed header. It'll work just fine. And yeah, buddy, run it through the combine and no-till drill soybeans behind it. And then I get my corn, my rye, my straw, which is important, the uh, and the soybeans. So, and you get the soybeans in somewhere around June 20th to the 25th in that area, because the combine will run through that stuff pretty quickly. So, anyways, I've been yammering on for 38 minutes, and I guess that's more than enough. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like this. This corn looks way better than the corn out at State College that the college has grown. This is a Golden Harvest 100-day variety. If you're interested, I don't have a dream combine. I mean, I really like the TR systems or the series. TR96 is what I have. TR97 is basically a TR96 with more horsepower. Same with a TR98. A few more creature comforts, and the cab's a little bit nicer. But that TR99, that was a sweet rig. So if I was going to buy a new one, not a new one, but if I was going to buy a new one, to me, the TR99 would be at the top of my list because it is a higher capacity combine, which will run a 12-row header with no problems at all. And that may be what I'm looking at if I continue down this road to growing corn. And of course, grain bins. Jesus Christmas, I'd have to build grain bins. But right now, the way this corn crop looks, I'm going to have somewhere around 60,000 bushels at a 200 bushel yield. And I've got 23,000 bushels of storage. So 23, 25. I could probably get 25,000 bushels stored. If I pull all the equipment out of that blue building, then yeah, I'd be able to store another 10,000 bushels. So let's just say 35,000 bushels of storage. Other than that, I have to sell it out. And I do have some guys that have bins that I'm thinking about renting. I know there's a friend of mine up here. He's in the grain business, in the grain commodity business, not the growing business. And he's got 30,000 bushels of storage. So in the mid 20s price right now. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, the TR99 had a bigger rotor system in it, and the same rotors would fit in a TR70 that fit in the TR98. Believe it or not, the circumference was the same. I think they were a little longer. They just lengthened them out, but the circumference was always the same size. TR96 is a good combine though, and I enjoy it. There is some work that needs to be done to it, and I am starting that process right now. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hopefully I got a video for you tomorrow.